I drive overnight cargo for an independent logistics company. It's a lonely job, but the pay is good, and I've always preferred the quiet of the night over dealing with daytime traffic. My usual route takes me straight across the state, mostly sticking to the interstates. But last month, a massive pileup forced me to take a detour on a Highway 50. If you've ever driven Highway 50 in Nevada, you know it's earned its title as the loneliest road in America. You can drive for hours without seeing another pair of headlights, a gas station, or even a house. It's just you, the asphalt, and the endless desert stretching out into the pitch-black night. It was a Tuesday. I had been driving for about 6 hours straight, heavily relying on black coffee to keep my eyes open. The dashboard clock read 2:15 a.m. The radio had died an hour ago, leaving me with nothing but the hypnotic hum of the engine and the tires rolling over the cracked pavement. That's when the thick fog started rolling in. It didn't make sense for the desert, but within minutes, my visibility was cut down to the hood of my truck. I slowed down to a crawl. The isolation was starting to mess with my head. I kept feeling like I was being watched from the darkness beyond my headlights. At exactly 2:45 a.m., my GPS completely froze. The little blue arrow indicating my truck spun in circles, and then the screen went completely black. A few seconds later, it rebooted, but it wasn't showing the map anymore. It was just displaying a list of available Wi-Fi networks in the middle of nowhere. One network stood out, and seeing it made my blood run cold. It read, "Help_me_1313. There were no houses around, no other cars. It was physically impossible for my truck to be picking up a router signal out here. I tried to turn the GPS screen off, but the power button wouldn't respond. The screen just stayed locked on that network name, glaring at me in the dark cabin. I tried to shake it off. I told myself it was a glitch in the truck's computer system. But then, things got worse. The digital clock on the dash slowly flipped from 3:12 a.m. to 3:13 a.m. The exact moment it changed, the engine sputtered. It choked once, twice, and then completely died. The power steering locked up, and I had to use all my strength to muscle the heavy truck onto the dirt shoulder. The headlights flickered and went out. I was plunged into total, suffocating darkness. I grabbed my flashlight from the glove compartment, my hands shaking violently. I sat there in the driver's seat, holding my breath, waiting for something to happen. 10 minutes passed. Nothing. Just the dead silence of the desert. I finally convinced myself that it was just a mechanical failure. I needed to check under the hood. I unbuckled my seatbelt, the loud click echoing in the quiet cabin. I opened the door, stepped out into the freezing fog, and walked around to the front of the truck. I popped the hood and shined my flashlight inside. Everything looked normal. No smoke, no leaking fluids. That's when I heard it. A sound coming from the back of my truck. From inside the locked cargo trailer. It was a slow, deliberate tapping. Tap, tap, tap. Then, a heavy thud against the metal wall, as if someone, or something, was trying to push their way out. My heart hammered against my ribs. I was hauling medical supplies. Sealed boxes. There was absolutely no way anyone was in that trailer. I had locked the heavy padlock myself before leaving the warehouse. I slowly walked toward the back of the truck, the gravel crunching loudly under my boots. Every instinct I had was screaming at me to run into the desert, but I had nowhere to go. I reached the heavy metal doors of the trailer. The padlock was gone. Not broken, not cut. It was just completely gone. The right door was cracked open about 2 inches. I raised my flashlight with trembling hands and pulled the heavy door open. The beam of light pierced the darkness inside the trailer. The boxes of medical supplies were completely trashed, torn open and scattered across the floor. And sitting at the very back of the trailer, in the corner, was a figure. It looked like a person, but its limbs were unnaturally long, bent at awkward angles. It was wearing a tattered yellow raincoat, facing the wall. "Hey," I yelled, my voice cracking. "You need to get out of there right now." The figure didn't turn around. Instead, it slowly raised one of its long, pale hands and pointed at the wall. I moved my flashlight beam to where it was pointing. Written in thick, dark liquid on the metal wall of the trailer were the numbers 313. Before I could even process what I was looking at, the heavy metal door of my truck cabin slammed shut at the front of the vehicle. The engine roared to life. The headlights snapped on, blindingly bright through the fog. I sprinted toward the front of the truck, screaming, but it was too late. I watched in absolute horror as my truck slammed into gear and sped off down Highway 50, leaving me entirely alone in the freezing fog. I walked for 10 hours before a patrol car found me. The police eventually located my truck abandoned 50 miles down the road. It was completely out of gas, but the cargo trailer was locked with my original padlock. When they cut it open, the medical supplies were perfectly stacked, undisturbed. No torn boxes, no dark liquid on the walls. The police thought I had fallen asleep at the wheel and hallucinated the whole thing before wandering off. But I know what I saw. I don't drive at night anymore, and I will never, ever set foot on Highway 50 again.